Seasoned green oak. If you have any experience burning wood, you can probably picture nights you spent in front of a crackling fire surrounded by loved ones. If you don't have experience burning wood, you may not know that seasoned wood and green wood are opposites, and green wood doesn't burn well. Instead of crackling and providing warmth, it smokes up the entire house. There's no way wood can be seasoned and green at the same time. So I'll explain what the phrase seasoned green oak means to me. I used to sell seasoned green oak when I was young, and that activity was indicative of the way I spent my entire childhood. As I said, my dad was a con man who always looked for the easy way out of everything, and the way we sold firewood was a perfect example. Dad would send us out from the relative warmth of whatever ramshackle truck he had procured to knock on doors. We learned to be salesmen in the freezing winter in Pennsylvania, and that was a great motivator. Our pay at the end of the night, if we were successful, was a hot line sandwich, think poor man's panini, and a hot cocoa from a convenience store along the way. The sooner we made a sale, the sooner we could get out of the cold. But God forbid we made a sale too quickly, because that would trigger the dreaded second load scenario. A quick sale meant we would hurry home, grab a second load, and start the whole process again. If we knocked on doors all night without finding a buyer, Dad would implement the sob story. The sob story started with a drive to an affluent neighborhood where Dad unhooked the truck's wiring harness to make the vehicle appear disabled. With the hood raised and Dad banging his tools loudly, it wasn't long before the locals would investigate the commotion. The story we shared with the good citizens once they left their warm homes was that Dad needed to sell this load of wood so he could afford to call for a tow truck and get these poor, cold children home. Much of this was true because we were definitely poor and cold, and we weren't going anywhere until the wood was sold. The sob story seldom failed us, and once Dad closed the deal, he would lead us into the house to make the fake call to the record service. Inside, I smelled the wondrous scents of flower arrangements, new carpet, and warm dinners. I always thought this was how rich people's houses smelled. Once we closed the deal, Dad would hook up the wiring harness and we'd be on our way. The sob story alone wasn't bad enough, but that was only a small part of the scam. Dad always seemed to be able to find somebody who would let him clear wood, and he would cut down live trees with green leaves and sap, certainly nothing suitable for burning. He would cut them down, split the wood, and throw it in the truck. He always kept a small supply of seasoned wood that had been cut the year before, so it had time to dry sufficiently. He would put that on top so it covered the green wood below. This was a veneer, a cosmetic veneer. Then we would go door to door, and the people would come out to look at the wood we had for sale. Obviously, we hoped and prayed they wouldn't lift more than one piece to see the green wood that would burn poorly and probably smoke up their house. In cases where we snared a customer, Dad would talk to them at length around front as we kids stacked the green wood, placed the seasoned oak back in the truck, and neatly wrapped the stack of wood in Dad's trademark complimentary black plastic, ensuring prying eyes wouldn't see it was green until well after our clean getaway. Once our home phone rang and the person on the other end was an angry firewood customer, he explained that he had tried to light our product with a blowtorch without luck. Dad yelled, "How did you get this number?" With no actual business number to contact, disgruntled customers really tracked him down. Being a salesman is an honorable profession if it's done ethically. But Dad taught us how to sell a bad product, how to cheat people. We had to do that. That was part of being a kid in our house. We were making the money to pay the bills and put food on the table, but that didn't make me feel any better about what I was doing. Instead of accepting my dad's example as the path I would follow, I chose to overcome that adversity. I began to think of life as a game of plinko, and I was dropping, bouncing, and hitting things all the way down. The difference between plinko and the game of life was that my path wasn't ruled by chance or gravity. At every turn, I had a choice, and I decided that I didn't want to sell things that weren't real. Dad taught us that it's important to be out there, to knock on doors and look for opportunity. But what I learned on my own was the importance of selling something that is genuine and sustainable. You can get away with ripping people off. You can do that for a little while, but not for long. You know, eventually it's going to come back and get you. But if you're sharing something you really believe in, you can leave the past behind and find the life you were meant to live.